I'm Jim from Come Play With Us, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing Star Trek Captain's Chair. This is a new game from WizKids. It's based on the Imperial system that's had a few iterations now. The most recent one was Horizons. This is a more streamlined version of that game, and of course they put the Star Trek theme on it. To give some background, I'm a huge deck builder fan, but I had not dipped my feet into the Imperial system as of yet. I've been kind of looking at it and deciding whether I want to get it or not, but then I noticed that this Star Trek version was coming out, and it looked more streamlined, and it's a theme that's more exciting to me. I have a lot of Civilization games and some even Civilization deck building games, so getting another one would, kind of didn't appeal to me, even though the system looked really good. So the Star Trek theme really brought me to this. As usual, I'm not going to be doing a full overview of this game. I've got a playthrough on my channel. I'll link down to that in my show notes below. Okay, so let's start by talking about the components. Components for this game are pretty good. I mean, it's mostly cards. Card quality is really good. The art on the cards is nice. They went with art and not stills on this, so that's really nice. I love the art. It's really well done, and it fits all the different Star Trek eras. Card quality is quite thick, pretty good. I sleeve all my cards. They're standard card sleeve size, so that's good, and it works. So you don't have to find some special card sleeve size for this game. There is a lot of iconography on the cards. So there's a little disclaimer there. So there's tags and lots of different tags. There's a whole bunch of different card types. There's a bunch of tags. There's lots of text on these cards. There's lots of different icons. You've got a little cheat sheet here for the players of all the different icons and what they mean, and then some common terms on the back. There's keywords. There's a lot. So there's a lot to kind of parse on the cards, but they do, for what they're doing, I think the system works really well. The tags are easy to read. Now, the one thing I did have a problem with, and I did make a mistake in my playthrough, I was playing the game a little wrong for a while, was you have symbols for these different tracks on the cards that push your cubes up these tracks. So there's red, yellow, and blue, and the symbols that push the tracks up for the yellow and red are red, but the blue one is not blue. It has the symbol. It's easy to notice, but you also have these glory tokens that you get, and that symbol is blue. And this is just probably just a me thing. I mean, I do wear progressives, so my sight isn't great. For the longest time I was mistaking that blue glory symbol for the blue track symbol, and because the iconography is quite small, I mean, that can happen, but so you really gotta kind of get the iconography down on these things. But for the most part, I think it's pretty good. But there is a lot of text on these cards. They are pretty busy. You do also get some standees with the game for the ships that go into play, so that's pretty cool. The art on the standees is really nice. I also like that on the back of the standees, it has the ship name, but it also has symbology to show you if they're a neutral ship or if they belong to a faction. So that makes it really easy to make sure you get them sorted properly into the right faction and neutral piles. So kudos to them for that. You get a dual layer player board here where your cubes slot into these tracks, and then it also has some reminders on here. So these are nice, and they work well with the tracks. They're like kind of staggered, so the cube doesn't just slide. It won't move or anything like that if you bump it. So that's pretty good. You'll also get some acrylic tokens here. So you got like dilithium crystals and little latinum things. So components are all pretty good. Oh, and also this you get these little these are cool, these action markers that flip over. They're acrylic. So yeah, components wise, really well done. Especially it's just a card game. You don't expect to have these other nice components with it. I think they did a good job there, especially for the price point. It's a very reasonably priced game. So yeah, I think top marks for the components in this game. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the mechanics of this game. So this game is really interesting for me. It's not a standard deck builder, so it is kind of billed as a deck builder game, but I think this is more of a hybrid game. It's a deck builder mixed with a tableau builder, and with a little bit of kind of Magic the Gathering, like a living card game or collectible card game mechanics mixed in as well. And so that's really interesting because it's not the typical fare where you start off with a really basic deck of useless cards that give you one or two resources, kind of a mix of resources to start out the gate, and then you got to spend time building your deck. That's not how this works. You start, there's 6 different factions in the game, and each faction has a specific deck of cards for them. Now, there are some cards in your starting deck that are the same in every deck. They might have slight differences, but there is a set of standard cards in each deck. But then there's also a bunch of cards that are just specific to that deck. And also the way the decks are set up from the start of the game are also different. So and it makes a little bit. I mean, I really love how they've kind of done this, and I guess this goes a bit back to the components that on the bottom of the cards they'll have like a type that tells you how to set up your deck. So this card says available. That means it goes into my starting, my draw deck. If it's a reserve card, it starts over here. If it's a development card, it also starts over here. If the captain's got marked off here, some cards start deployed, so they go into your tableau right away. Other cards might start in your discard. You have incident cards that might start in the incident deck, and it's all nicely marked, so you can set it up really easily. So I really like how that works. It's really easy to set up because of how they've kind of marked the cards and everything. And it's also really interesting that each of the factions has a different setup. So this faction here, for instance, has a bunch of cards starting in their discard pile, and so their draw deck is smaller. And how that's significant is whenever you have to cycle your deck in this game, you get to pull a reserve card in, which is kind of your better cards. And then once your reserve deck runs out, then you get to start buying development cards, which are your kind of super cards, and they cost resources and stuff to get into play, but you get to pick which one you want to put into play. So they're playing with those kind of mechanics a lot. So that's really neat. The other thing that's different about this than a regular deck builder is you can't just buy cards. You need the cards you have like actions on them, and you get 3 actions per turn normally, and you have to spend actions to play a lot of the cards. Some have free play abilities, but a lot of them will cost an action, and every card kind of has a play ability on it. And you need the right actions and stuff to buy the right card. So you might have a certain card that lets you get people, or a certain card that lets you get allies or ships. So you can't just go buy the cards you want. You need to kind of work with your deck to figure out how to acquire those things. And different decks for different factions will be better in certain areas of the game. So that's really interesting. I like that. Also, the cards have different ways to play them, right? So each card will have a play ability for when you play it down in your staging area. If you can get it into your play area or your tableau, then they'll have activation abilities that kind of give you, you can turn your card during the round to use a once a turn ability. It's kind of like CCG games. So that's really interesting. Also, there's tons of tags in here that trigger off of other things. That's really interesting. So there's a lot going on here because you're also getting resources and glory points and all that kind of thing. And you can also attack the other player. So some of the ability, there's attack and weapon tags or attack actions and stuff that allow you to do and kind of mess with your opponents a bit. The other mechanic is there's a little bit of an area control thing going on in the middle here, where you can send your ship out to these planets and your away teams and try to fight for control of these planets. And then once you get in control, they'll come into your tableau as well, and they have a control ability that will do a one-time ability that will do something, and then some of them will have kind of resupply abilities that kind of trigger every round at the beginning of the round, or they'll have passive activation abilities or reaction abilities. So that it's just basically another kind of card you can kind of buy, but you buy them by taking control of them. So really cool. Yeah, so that's the basic mechanics of all of what's going on here, and it's all really interesting. Okay, so what don't I like about this game? So I already talked a little bit about this. Is the iconography. Like, there's so much stuff jammed into these cards. The icons are pretty small, so if you're like me and you need progressives or bifocals or something, and you have a hard time reading, it's gonna be a bit hard to, to get used to all the different symbols and icons and, all the tags and stuff like that. I mean, they've done a good job of organizing it all in all, but there is a lot on each of these cards to kind of digest and read. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to like study their cards for 20 minutes before they play them, you probably want to stay away from this game, because there's a lot of that. And I mean, there's so many unique cards in the game, right? So it's not like Dominion, where you've got 10 piles in the middle and 10 copies of each card. No, these cards are all unique out here. These ones that you're buying from the market, all these cards are unique. So there's no duplicates. The only duplicate cards in the game are a few that you start out with in your starting deck. So that could be a bit difficult, because there's a lot to digest there, because these aren't giving you simple actions or anything like that. Everything's quite complex. So this is quite a complex deck builder. So I would say like 10 stages up from Dominion. The other thing that I might not like about this is a long game. So this isn't a 20 or 40-minute game. This is more in the I'm playing solo. It's in the 1.5 hour to 2 hour range, so it is a longer game. You're gonna have to put a bit of a commitment into this game. And I believe the original Imperial system was 4-player. This one's only 1 or 2, so they've kind of acknowledged that you don't really want to go beyond 2 players in this game because of the downtime. And I think that's great that they've acknowledged that, and they put the effort into to just focus on the 1 and 2 player game. That's about all I could say that I don't like about the game. I mean, in 2 players, there's going to be some downtime, because there is a lot to think about on your turn. But with 2 players, it shouldn't be too bad between turns, because I mean, you're going to have time while that other person's playing to kind of study your cards and figure out what you're going to do in your next turn. And there is some interaction with this area control thing, and you do attack the other player, so they are kind of involved in your turn a bit. So not too bad. Okay, what do I like about this game? Oh man, there is so much to love about this game. I'm like, 2 of my favorite mechanics in board games are deck building games and tableau building games, and this is both so put together. So that makes this like super awesome for me. I just like the puzzle of like studying my cards, like all this stuff I could do. Every time I try a new faction, I'm looking at their cards. I'm like, oh man, like how am I going to play this? And they all play completely different from each other, so that's really cool. The thematic integration with Star Trek is awesome. I mean, right now I've got in front of me here, I've got Burnham here from Discovery. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Discovery seasons. I watched, I liked the first 2 seasons. I thought were really good, and then after that I thought it fell off a cliff. But I know enough about the Discovery series to say that the thematic integration, how this deck works, is super. It works so well. Like this is Discovery. Like you've got, there's the Discovery ship, and you're doing there's some interesting mechanics that this faction has that none of the other factions have, and it's just playing with the the storyline in Discovery. Really neat, and all the factions are like that, and they've kind of picked and chosen from a whole bunch of different Star Trek series. So the fact that they've got the new Discovery series in here is really neat. They've got stuff. This faction here is Sela, and she's got the the Romulan ship from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe movie, that first one. So there's some elements from that. There's some Star Trek Enterprise: The Next Generation. There's Deep Space Nine. So they've gone and they've done areas of a lot of the different Star Trek universes. So I think that's really interesting, because it'll appeal to fans of the various different eras of Star Trek. Strangely enough, the one area they don't have any really much representation from is from the original Star Trek series. So I'm wondering if that's coming. Maybe that'll come in an expansion or something like that. But that's the original, very original Star Trek is not really super represented in this game. The other really great thing is the solo game. The solo game in this is premium. Every faction has its own AI. Which is really exceptional. They all do different things. They play how you would expect the AI is written to play with that specific faction. So the Klingons really go after the planets. If you watch my playthrough, I play against the Klingons, and I could not get control of a planet. They were fighting me to the nail. So that's really cool how the different AIs for the different factions really make those factions feel like those factions and integrate with the theme. And they play very differently, so it makes it very interesting because you'll want to try out. Not only will you want to try out all the factions to see how they play, you'll want to play against all the factions to see how they play against the different AIs and stuff. Really cool. The other thing with the AI, it also scales. So they've got I don't know, 4 or 5 different levels of the AI, so that the AI difficulty is controlled by this this deck here. I think this is called the Stardate deck. And the way this works is, every round, whenever you get glory points, you're pulling off this card. And when you run out of glory points, the card comes off. And when you get through these cards, that's one of the game end triggers. And as this deck progresses, the AI gets to do more and more things. Basically, is how that works. And then there's different levels that you can play with to make the AI stronger. So it's not just the factions might be a little bit more difficult to play against different factions, but also you can scale the difficulty. Really awesome. There is a campaign in here. I haven't looked at the campaign. It's more of I think I took a brief look at it, and it's like play 10 games and keep a log and stuff. So it's not like I think there's 2 extra cards in here that come into play somehow with the campaign, but so there's not really any extra components for the campaign. It's just more playing a series of games and keeping track of things or something like that. But all in all, truly excellent. Okay, so what's my final verdict on this game? I love this game. This really sings to me. It's a really interesting game. I can sit here and puzzle through all my turns. So many different ways and strategies to play the game and try out. A ton of content in here. The solo game is spectacular. I just can't say enough good things about this game. I am giving this game a 9 out of 10. I think this is going to be one of my absolute favorites. I've been playing it a ton since I got it. I can just put it out and just keep playing, and whenever I have some time, play a few turns and stuff like that. It's really, really great. Now, if if you're not like me, you don't have a table where you can just leave it set up. The time might be a drag because this isn't just pull it out and play for 20 to 40 minutes. It is a bit of an investment in time, but if you can just leave it out, that might help with the playtime, getting it down. Yeah, now that I've played this game, it does make me interested in looking at the Imperium system, so I might go try and get one of those, or I might just wait for more expansions for the Star Trek one. I'm sure they're coming. But yeah, all in all, this is a spectacular game. I highly recommend it, especially if you like deck builders and tableau builders, and you're not bothered by the long playtime or the complexity, of having all these different cards that do so many different things. I think this is something you should check out, especially if you're a solo player. So yeah, really, really good. As usual, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.